effect of the bill will be to abolish trial by jury in at least half the cases that currently come before the courts, and will, to a significant extent, abolish the presumption of innocence. Our strategy should therefore be to insist that the bill does not diminish the liberty of the subject, but amplifies it, so that the true liberty of the subject consists in the freedom to walk the streets, unmolested, etc., secure in the knowledge that if a crime is committed, it will be promptly and sufficiently punished, and that far from circumscribing the liberty of the subject, this will enlarge it. I would try not to be shrill or earnest. An amused tolerance always comes off the best, on television particularly. School. That's all it is. In my case, anyway. Back to school.
Les gants. Les chats.
Le blouson d'aviateur.
Le casque. Permettez-moi, monsieur.
Bien fait, les enfants. Bien fait.
Hop! 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 Hop!
Now fades the thunder of the youth of England, clearing summer's obligatory hurdles. Felicitations to you all. Well done, Scripps. Bravo, Deacon. Cramper, congratulations. And Rudge, too. Remarkable. All deserved prizes. All have done that noble and necessary thing. You have satisfied the examiners of the Joint Matriculation Board. Woo! And now, proudly jingling your A-levels, those longed-for emblems of your conformity, you stand before me once again to resume your education. What were A-levels then, sir? Boys. A-levels, Rudge, are credentials, qualifications, the footings of your CV, your cheats visa. Time now for the bits in between. You will see from the timetable that our esteemed headmaster has given these periods the euphemistic title of General Studies.
Euphemism. Substitution of mild or vague or roundabout expression for harsh or direct one.
Verbal figurative, the mild or vague expression being General Studies. The harsh or direct one, useless knowledge. The otiose, the trash, the department of why bother.
Otiose. Serving no actual purpose without function.
If, heaven forfend, I was ever entrusted with the timetable, I would call these lessons a waste of time. Nothing that goes on here has anything to do with getting on. But remember, open quotation marks, all knowledge is precious, whether or not it serves the slightest human use. Close quotation marks. Who said? Lockwood? Crowther? Timms? Acthar? Loveliest of trees, the cherry now.
A.E. Houseman, sir.
A.E. Houseman, sir.
Oh, wasn't he a Nancy, sir?
Grubby-minded little trollop. Do not use that word.
You use it, sir.
I do, sir, but I'm far gone in age and decrepitude.
You're not supposed to hit us, sir. We could report you, sir.
I know.
You should treat us with more respect. We're scholarship candidates now. We're all going in for Oxford and Cambridge.
Wash me in steep down gulfs of liquid fire! I thought all that silliness was finished. I thought that after last year we were set for the less lustrous institutions. Derby, Leicester, Nottingham, even my dear Sheffield. The Scripps, you believe in God? Believe in me. Forget Oxford and Cambridge. Why do you want to go there?
Old, sir. Tried and tested.
No, it's because other boys want to go there. It's the hot ticket, standing room only. So I'll thank you, none of you mention Oxford, or Cambridge, my lessons. There is a world elsewhere.
You're hitting us again, sir.
Child, I am your teacher. Whatever I do in this room is a token of my trust. I am in your hands. It is a pact. Bread eaten in secret. I put before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. Oxford? Cambridge?
Look up, my lord! Vex not his ghost, oh, let him pass. He hates him that would upon the rack of this tough world stretch him out longer. Look up, my lord! The wonder is he hath endured so long. He that usurped this life.
I have a journey, sir. Shortly to go. My master calls me. I must not say no.
The weight of this sad time we must obey. Speak what we feel, not what we ought to say.
You hit him? It never hurt. It was a joke. None of us cared. We lapped it up.
He goes mad.
He hit me. He never hits me.
He hits you if he likes you. He never touches me.
I'm black and blue.
It's true what he said. I did believe in God. Nobody else does. Like stamp collecting, it seems to have gone out. And I suspect even the vicar thinks I am a freak. But the big man is glad. The prayer book, hymns ancient and modern. Lucky boy.
Miss Lintott, Dorothy,
Headmaster?
these Oxbridge boys, your historians. Any special plans?
Their A-levels are very good.
Their A-levels are very good. And that is thanks to you, Dorothy. We've never had so many. Remarkable. But what now in teaching terms?
More of the same?
Do you think so?
It's what we've done before.
Quite. Without much success. No one last year, none the year before. When did we last have anyone in history at Oxford and Cambridge?
I tend not to distinguish
Between Oxford and Cambridge?
between centres of higher learning. Last year we had 2 at Bristol and 1 at York.
Yes,
Before
yes,
we
I
had-
know that, Dorothy, but I'm thinking league tables, open scholarships, reports to the governors. I want the boys to do themselves justice. I want them to do you justice. And factually tip-top as your boys always are, something more is required.
More?
Different. I would call it grooming. That did not have overtones of the monkey house. Presentation might be the word.
They know their stuff. Plainly stated and properly organised facts need no presentation, surely.
Dorothy, I think they do. The facts, serving suggestion.
A sprig of parsley, you mean? An umbrella in the cocktail. Not don't so naive.
Naive, Dorothy? Or human? I'm thinking of the boys, clever, yes, remarkably so, well taught, indubitably, but a little ordinaire. Think charm, think polish, think Renaissance man.
Yes, Headmaster.
Master?
Hector.
Didn't you try for Cambridge?
Oxford. I was brought up in the West Riding. I wanted somewhere new, which is to say old. So long as it was old, I didn't mind where I went.
Durham was good in that respect.
Sheffield wasn't. Cloisters, ancient libraries. I was confusing learning with the smell of cold stone. Had I gone to Oxford, I'd probably never have worked out the difference.
Durham was very good for history. It's where I had my first pizza. Other things too, of course. But it's the pizza that stands out. And fog, would you believe? One morning inside the cathedral. I loved it. Wish some of them were trying to go there.
Oh, no chance.
No, our fearless leader has made up his mind. They are bright. Brighter than last year's, but that's not enough, apparently.
Never was, even in my day.
Poor swords.
This be the verse. They fuck you up, your mum and dad. They may not mean to, but they do. They fill you with the faults they had, and add some extra just for you. But they were fucked up in their turn by fools in old-style hats and coats who half the time were soppy stern and half at one another's throats. Man hands on misery to man. It deepens like a coastal shelf. Get out as early as you can, and don't have any kids yourself.
I'd been on playground duty, so I saw him on what must have been his first morning waiting outside the study. I thought he was a new boy, which of course he was, so I smiled. Then Felix turned up.
You are?
Owen,
Oh,
the supply teacher.
quite so.
Hector had said that if I wanted to write, I should keep a notebook, and there must have been something furtive about Erwin's arrival, because I wrote it down. I called it clandestine, a word I'd just learned. I wasn't sure how to pronounce.
The examinations are in December, which gives us 3 months on the outside. Well, you know the form. You were at Cambridge.
Oxford. Jesus.
I thought of going. This was the 50s. Change was in the air. A spirit of adventure.
So where did you go?
I was a geographer. I went to Hull.
Oh, Larkin.
Everybody says that. Hull. Oh, Larkin. I don't know about poetry. As I say, I was a geographer. But as a librarian, he was pitiless. The Himmler of the accessions desk. And now we're told women in droves. Art. They get away with murder. Anyway, they're a likely lot, the boys. All keen. One oddity. Rudge. Determined to try for Oxford and Christchurch of all places. No hope. Might get into Loughborough on a bad year. Otherwise, all bright. But they lack Polish. Edge. Your job. We're low in the league. I want to see us up there with Manchester Grammar School, Haberdasher's Asks, or Leighton Park. Or is that an open prison? No matter. There is a vacancy in history.
Well, that's very true.
In the school. Pull us up the table, Erwin, and it's yours. I'm corseted by the curriculum, but I can find you 3 lessons a week.
Not enough.
I agree, however, Mr. Hector, our English master, is general studies. There's passion there, or as I prefer to call it, commitment. Not curriculum directed at all. In the circumstances, we may be able to filch an hour. You're very young. Grow a mustache. I'm thinking classroom control.
C'est lui pour moi, moi pour lui dans la vie. Il me l'a dit, la journée pour la vie. Dès que je l'aperçois, alors je sens en moi mon cœur qui bat.
Où voudriez-vous travailler? Dans un garage.
Non, non.
Pas encore. Ayez pitié de nous. Quelqu'un, où voudriez-vous travailler aujourd'hui? Je voudrais travailler dans une maison de passe.
Oh là là.
A brothel.
Très bien. Mais, une maison de passe, tous les clients utilisent le subjonctif ou le conditionnel, oui? Oh, voilà, déjà un client. Qui est la femme de chambre?
Moi, je suis la femme de chambre.
Et comment t'appelles-tu?
Je m'appelle Simone.
Simone, monsieur ne peut pas attendre.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Bonjour, chérie.
Entrez, s'il vous plaît. Voici votre lit.
Merci, madame.
Mademoiselle.
Je veux m'étendre sur le lit.
Je voudrais. I would like to stretch out on the bed in the conditional or subjunctive. Je voudrais m'étendre sur le lit.
Mais les chaussures, monsieur, pas sur le lit. Et vos pantalons aussi.
Excusez-moi, mademoiselle.
Oh, belle jambe. Et maintenant, Claudine.
Oui, la prostituée, s'il vous plaît.
Ici, on appelle un chat un chat.
Monsieur, je pensais que vous voudriez des préliminaires.
Mais quels préliminaires sont sur le menu?
À quel prix? 10 francs.
10 francs? Pour 10 francs, je peux vous montrer ma prodigieuse poitrine.
Et maintenant, pourrais-je caresser la poitrine?
20 francs, vous pouvez poser votre bouche sur ma poitrine en agitant.
En agitant quoi?
Oh, un autre client.
Monsieur le directeur! L'anglais, c'est interdit. Ici, on ne parle que français en accordant une importance particulière au subjonctif.
Qu'est-ce qui se passe ici? Pourquoi cette garçon? Bacon, is it? Et ça, c'est, trousers. Quelqu'un?
Ne sois pas timide. C'est ta chère, monsieur le directeur, ce que nous faisons.
Je suis un homme. Vous n'êtes pas un homme. Vous êtes un soldat.
Un soldat blessé? Vous comprenez, cher monsieur le directeur? Soldat blessé?
A wounded soldier, of course, yes.
Ici, c'est un hôpital en Belgique.
À Ypres, sir, Ypres, pendant la guerre mondiale numéro 1.
C'est ça. David est un soldat blessé, un mutilé de guerre, et les autres sont des médecins, infirmières et tout le personnel d'un grand établissement médical et thérapeutique. Continuez, mes enfants, s'il vous plaît.
Il souffre! Ma mère! Ma mère! Mon père!
Elles sont pâles.
Ma tante! Ma belle-sœur!
La famille entière.
Il est distrait.
Il est commotionné, peut-être.
Comment?
Commotionné. Shell shocked.
C'est possible. Commotionné. Oui, c'est le mot juste.
Permettez-moi d'introduire Mr. Irwin, notre nouveau professeur. Enchanté. Ce que je veux, c'est que...
Veuille. Ce que je veuille. Veuille.
Not silliness. Mr. Hector, we are aware that these pupils are Oxbridge candidates.
Are they? Are you sure? Nobody has told me.
Mr. Irwin will be coaching them, but it's a question of time. I found him 3 lessons a week, and I was wondering...
No, headmaster.
Purely on a temporary basis. It will be the last time, I promise.
Last time was the last time also.
Thinking of the boys.
I do. Non, absolument non, non. C'est hors de question. Et puis, si vous voulez bien m'excuser, je dois continuer la leçon. À tout à l'heure. It's true though, sir. We haven't much time. Now, who goes home? Surely I can give someone a lift. Who's on pillion duty? Dakin?
No, not me, sir. Going to town.
Crowther?
Off for a run, sir.
I thought.
Computer club, sir.
I'll come, sir.
No, never mind.
I'll come, sir. Scripts. The things I do for Jesus.
I go. I'm never asked.
You don't fit the bill. Me neither. I tell you, be grateful.
Dull, dull, abysmally dull. A triumph, the dullest of the lot.
I got all the points.
I didn't say it was wrong, I said it was dull. Its sheer competence was staggering. Now, interest, nil. Oddity, nil. Singularity, nowhere.
Actually, sir, I know that tradition required it of the eccentric schoolmaster, but do you mind not throwing the books? They tend to fall apart.
It's the way we've been taught, sir. Mrs. Lintop discourages the dramatic, sir. This is history, not histrionics.
Oh, you've got crap handwriting, sir. How about Irwin is eye ruined? Significant or what?
It's your eyesight that's bad, and we know what that's caused by.
Oh. Is that a coded reference to the mythical dangers of self-abuse?
Possibly. It might even be a joke.
A joke, sir? Are jokes going to be a future, sir? We need to know as it affects our mindset.
You don't object to our using the expression mindset, do you, sir? Mr. Hector doesn't care for it. He says if he catches any of us using it, he'll kick our asses from bullocks to sundown, sir.
At the time of the Reformation, there were 14 foreskins of Christ preserved. Wow. But it was thought that the Church of St. John Lateran in Rome had the authentic prepuce.
I don't think we're shocked by your use of the word foreskin, sir.
No, sir. Some of us even have them. Not Posner, though, sir. Posner's like, you know, Jewish. It's one of several things Posner doesn't have. It's not racist, though, sir.
Isn't it?
It's race-related, but it's not racist.
Actually, I've not got one either. Muslims don't.
Has anybody been to Rome? No. Well, you will be competing against boys and girls who have. And they will have been to Rome, Venice, Florence, and Perugia. And they will doubtless have done courses on what they've seen there. So they will know, when they come to do an essay like this on the church on the eve of the Reformation, that some silly nonsense on foreskins of Christ will come in handy. So that their essays, unlike yours, will not be dull. Think board examiners. Think 60, think 160 papers, even more competent than the last, so that the 14 foreskins of Christ will come as a real ray of sunshine. Come the 14 foreskins of Christ, they'll think they've won the pools. You should hate them.
Oh, sir.
Hate them because these boys and girls against whom you are to compete have been groomed like thoroughbreds for this one particular race. Put head to head with them and all the evidence of these essays, you have none of you got a hope.
So why are we bothering?
I don't know. I don't know at all. You want it, I imagine. Oh, your parents want it. The headmaster certainly wants it, but I wouldn't waste the money. Judging by these, there's no point. Go to Newcastle and be happy. Of course, there is another way.
Ow. Chase.
Possibly. And Dakin,
Yes, sir?
don't take the piss. There isn't time.
What a wanker!
They'll have to do it, don't they?
What do what?
Show us they're still in the game, foreskins and stuff. Ooh, sir, you devil.
Have a heart. He's only 5 minutes older than we are.
What happened with Hector on the bike? As per, except I managed to get my back down. I think he thought you got me going. As a matter of fact, here's my Tudor economic documents, volume 2.
Because I was late growing up, I'm not included in this kind of conversation. I'm not supposed to understand. Actually, they would be surprised to know how much I know about them and their bodies and everything else.
Dakin's navel, I remember, was small and hard, like an unripe blackberry. Posner's navel was softer and more like that of the eponymous orange. Posner envied Dakin, his navel, and all the rest of him. That this envy might amount to love does not yet occur to Posner, as to date it has only caused him misery and dissatisfaction.
Sometimes I wish he'd just go for it. Posner? Hector. He does go for it, that's the trouble. In controlled conditions, not on the fucking bike, I'm terrified. Of the sex? No, of the next roundabout. Rudge is having sex, apparently.
Only on Fridays. I need the weekend free for rugger and golf. Nobody thinks I have a hope in this exam? Fuck 'em!
Currently, I'm seeing Fiona, the headmaster's secretary. Not that he knows. We haven't done it yet, but when we do, I was hoping that one of the times might be on his desk. Shit! Like the headmaster says, one should have targets.
New man seems clever.
He does, depressingly so.
Men are history, of course.
Why history particularly?
Storytelling, so much of it, which is what men do naturally. My ex, for instance, he told stories.
Was he in a story?
Lintot? No. A chartered accountant. Legged it to Dumfries.
Dakin's a good-looking boy, although somehow sad.
You always think they're sad, Hector. Every time. Actually, I wouldn't have said he was sad. I would have said he was cunt-struck.
Dorothy.
I just thought you'd like that. It's a compound adjective. I love compound adjectives.
He's clever, though.
They're all clever. I saw to that.
You give them an education. I give them the wherewithal to resist it. We are that entity beloved of our headmaster, a team.
You take a longer view than most. These days, teachers just remember the books they discovered and loved as students and shove them on the syllabus. Then they wonder why their pupils aren't as keen as they are. Nor discovery is why. Catcher in the Rye is a current example. Or have I got the whole thing wrong?
Maybe Auden has it right.
That's a change.
Dorothy, let each child that's in your care...
I know. Have as much neurosis as the child can bear. And how many children had Auden pray?
Eventually, at the less than startling discovery that so far as the poets are concerned, the First World War gets the thumbs down. We have the Mountains of Dead on both sides, right? Hecatombs, as you all seem to have read somewhere. Anybody know what it means?
Great public sacrifice of many victims, originally of oxen.
Which, sir, since Wilfred Owen said men were dying like cattle, is the appropriate word.
True. No need to look so smug about it. What else? Come on. Take them all off.
Trench warfare. Barrenness of the strategy.
On both sides.
Stupidity of the generals.
Donkeys, sir. Haig, particularly.
Humiliation of Germany at Versailles. Redrawing of national borders.
Ruhr and the Rhineland.
Mass unemployment. Inflation.
The collapse of the Weimar Republic.
Internal disorder.
And the rise of Hitler!
So our overall conclusion is that the origins of the Second War lie in the unsatisfactory outcome of the first.
Yes?
Yes, first class. Bristol welcomes you with open arms. Manchester longs to have you. You can walk into Leeds. But I'm a fellow of Magdalen College, Oxford. I've just read 70 papers, all saying the same thing, and I am asleep.
But it's all true.
What's that got to do with it? What's that got to do with anything? Let's go back to 1914. I'll put you a different case. Try this for size. Germany does not want war. And if there is an arms race, it's Britain that's leading it. Though there's no reason why we should want war, nothing in it for us. Better stand back. Let Germany and Russia fight it out while we take the imperial pickings. These are facts. Why do we not care to acknowledge them? The cattle, the body count. We still don't like to admit the war was even partly our fault because so many of our people died. A photograph on every mantelpiece, and all this mourning has veiled the truth. It's not so much lest we forget as lest we remember. Because you should realize that so far as the cenotaph and the last post and all that stuff is concerned, there is no better way of forgetting something than by commemorating it. And Dakin.
Yes, sir?
You were the one who was morally superior about Haig.
Passchendaele, the son. He was a butcher, sir.
Yes, but at least he delivered the goods. No, the real enemy to Haig's subsequent reputation was the unknown soldier. If Haig had had any sense, he'd have had him disinterred and shot all over again for giving comfort to the enemy.
What about the poets, then?
What about them? If you read what they actually say as distinct from what they write, most of them seem to have enjoyed the war. Siegfried Sassoon was a good officer. St. Wilfred Owen couldn't wait to get back to his company. Both of them surprisingly bloodthirsty. Poetry is good up to a point. Adds flavor.
This is the foreskins again, isn't it? A bit of a garnet.
But if you want to relate the politics to the war, forget Wilfred Owen. Try Kipling.
Thanks a lot. If any question why we died,
Tell them because our fathers lied. In other words...
Whoa. Sir, with respect, can I stop you? No, with a poem or any other work of art, we can never say, in other words. If it is a work of art, there are no other words.
No, sir. That's why it's a work of art in the first place. You can't look at a Rembrandt and say, in other words. Can you, sir?
So, what's the verdict then, sir? What do I write down?
You can write down, Rudge, that I must not write down every word the teacher says. You can also write down that the First World War was not a tragedy, it was a mistake. And as for the truth scripts which you were worrying about, truth is no more at issue in an examination than thirst at a wine tasting or fashion at a striptease.
Do you really believe this, sir? Or are you just trying to make us think? You can't explain away the poetry, sir.
No, sir. Art wins in the end.
How about this, sir?
Those long, uneven lines.
Standing as patiently, as if they were stretched outside the oval.
Or Villa Park.
The crowns of hats.
The sun on mustached, archaic faces.
Grinning, as if it were all an August bank holiday law.
Never such innocence
Never before or since.
has changed itself to past without a word.
The men leaving the garden tidy.
The thousands of marriages lasting a little while longer.
Never
such innocence again.
How come you know all this by heart? Not that it answers the question.
So much for a glorious dead.
I know.
Still, apropos Passchendaele, can I bring up to speed on Fiona? No, she's my Western Front. Last night, for instance, meeting only token resistance, I reconnoitered the grounds. Are you interested in this? No. Go on. As far as the actual place? Shit! We're not onto it, and certainly not into it, but up to it. At which point the Hun, if I may so characterize the fair Fiona, suddenly dug in. No further deployments were sanctioned, and at around 2300 hours, our forces withdrew. Whereas I'd begun the evening thinking, this might be the big push. You do have a nice time. Well, the beauty of it is, the metaphor really fits. I mean, just as moving up to the front line, troops presumably had to pass the sites of previous grounds where battles where every inch of territory had been hotly contested. So it is with me, like particularly her tits, which only fell some 3 weeks ago after a prolonged campaign into which I now have immediate access, and which were indeed the start line for last night's abortive thrust southward. I can't take any more. Enough! So, at least I'm doing better than Felix.
Felix?
Why? He tries to. He chases her around the desk hoping to cope a feeling. I don't want to think about it. He's only human.
Actually, when you think about it, the metaphor isn't exact. Because what Fiona's presumably carrying out is a plan withdraw. You're not forcing her. She's not being overwhelmed by superior forces. Does she like you?
Of course she likes me.
Well, then you're not disputing the territory. You're just negotiating over the pace of the occupation.
Just let us know when you get to Berlin. I'm beginning to like him.
Who, me?
Erwin. Though he hates me.
Scripsia, I can't bear to listen. But I want to hear every word. What does that mean? He's a fool, and don't I know it? But a fool can have his charms. I'm in love, don't I know it? Like a babe in arms.
I'm wild again, beguiled again, a simpering, whimpering child again.
Bewitched, bothered and bewildered am I.
Well done, poetry, boys. Now, poetry of a more traditional sort. What's this?
Sir, I don't always understand poetry.
You don't always understand it, Timms. I never understand it. But learn it now, know it now, and you'll understand it whenever.
I don't see how we can understand it. Most of the stuff poetry's about hasn't happened to us yet.
But it will, Timms, it will. And when it does, you will have the antidote ready. Grief, happiness, even when you're dying. We're making your deathbeds here, boys.
Fucking hate it.
Poetry is the trailer. Forthcoming attractions. Oh, villainy. Let the door be locked. Treachery. Seek it out. Knocks at the door, eh? In literature, the trial, for instance, begins with a knock. Anybody?
The person from Pollock.
Yes. Don Giovanni, the commendatore.
Excellent. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. Revelation.
Go on, sir.
Good. Very often the knock is a lie. The knock, as it were, taken as not. Did the knights knock at the door of Canterbury before they murdered Becket? And perhaps the person from Pollock never actually knocked, but just put his or her head in at the window. Death knocks, I suppose, love, and of course, opportunity. Ooh, now some silly time. Where's the kitty?
Sir,
Good one, sir.
The beach.
Ah, it's a good one, sir.
That remains to be seen.
We have to smoke, sir.
You go.
Jerry, please help me.
shall we just have a cigarette on it?
Yes.
May I sometimes come here?
Whenever you like. It's your home, too. There are people here who love you.
Will you be happy, Charlotte?
No. Jerry, let's not ask for the We have the stars.
Could it be Paul Henry and Betty Davis and now Voyager?
Oh,
It's famous this, you ignorant little tart?
We've never heard of it, sir.
Walk with me, leaves of grass. The untold want by land and life ne'er granted. Now, voyager, sail thou forth to seek and find. 50p pair!
Shit.
When you say shit, Lockwood, I take it you're referring to the well-established association between money and excrement?
You're right, sir.
Good. Well, I will now tell you how much shit there is in the pot. Namely, 16 pounds.
Judge.
Miss,
How are you all getting on with Mr. Irwin?
it's interesting, miss, if you know what I mean. Makes me grateful for your lessons.
Really? That's nice to hear.
Firm foundations type thing. Point A, point B, point C. Mr. Irwin is more free range.
Hadn't thought of you as a batter chicken ranch.
It's only a metaphor, miss.
I'm relieved to hear it.
You force-fed us facts. Now we're in the process of running around acquiring flavor.
Is that what Mr. Irwin says?
Oh no, miss, the metaphor's mine.
Well, you hang on to it.
Like, I'm just going home now to watch some videos of the Carry On film. I don't understand why they're known in the school library.
Why should there be?
Mr. Hector thinks that the films would be good films to talk about.
Really? How peculiar. Does he like them, do you think?
Probably not, miss. You never know with him.
I'm now wondering if there's something there that I missed.
Mr. Irwin says that while they have no intrinsic artistic merit, they achieve some of the permanence of art simply by persisting and acquiring incremental significance, if only as social history.
Jolly good.
If George Orwell had lived, nothing is more certain than that he would have written an essay on the Carry On film.
Ah, I thought it was Mr. Hector who was the Orwell fan.
Well, he is. Mr. Irwin says that if Orwell were alive today, he'd be in the National Front.
Dear me. What fun you must all have.
It's cutting edge, miss. It really is.
Where do you live, sir?
Somewhere on the outskirts? Why?
Ah, somewhere on the outskirts. Ooh. It's not a loft, is it, sir?
Do you exist on an unhealthy diet of takeaway food, sir? Or do you whisk up gourmet meals for one?
Or is it a lonely pizza?
I manage. No questions for you, Dakin?
What you want to know, sir, is do you have a life, or are we it? Are we your life, sir?
Pretty dismal if you are, because these are as dreary as ever. If you want to learn about Stalin, study Henry VIII. If you want to learn about Mrs. Thatcher, study Henry VIII. If you want to learn about Hollywood, study Henry VIII. A question has the front door and the back door. Go in the back, or better still, the side. Flee the crowd. Follow Orwell. Be perverse. And since I mention Orwell, take Stalin. Generally agreed to be a monster, and rightly. So dissent. Find something, anything, to say in his defense. History nowadays is not a matter of conviction. It's a performance. It's entertainment, and if it isn't, make it so.
I get it. It's an angle. You want us to find an angle.
When Irwin became well known as an historian, it was for finding his way to the wrong end of seesaws, settling on some hitherto unquestioned historical assumption, then providing the opposite. Notoriously, he would one day demonstrate, on television, that those who had been genuinely caught napping by the attack on Pearl Harbor were the Japanese, and the real culprit was President Roosevelt. Find a proposition, invert it, then look around for proofs. That was his technique, and it was as formal, in its way, as the disciplines of the medieval schoolmen.
A question is about what you know. It's not about what you don't know. A question about Rembrandt, for instance, might prompt an answer about Francis Bacon.
What
if you don't know about him either.
Turner then, or Umbra?
Was he no master? About suffering, they were never wrong. Sir, the old masters, how it takes place, while someone is eating or opening a window.
Have you done that with Mr. Hector?
Done what, sir?
The poem. You were quoting somebody. Auden?
Was I, sir? Sometimes it just flows out, brims over.
Why does he lock the door?
Lock the door? Does he lock the door? It's locked against the forces of progress, sir.
The spectre of modernity.
It's locked against the future, sir.
It's just that he doesn't like to be interrupted, sir.
A creep.
You have to lock the door, sir. We are a nation of shoplifters.
It's excrement, sir. The tide of.
And their sexual intercourse too, sir. Oh, they do it at bus stops, everyone young, going down the long slide to happiness endlessly, sir.
Free as bloody birds, sir.
Disgusting.
Does he have a program, or is it at random?
Ask him, sir.
We don't know, sir.
It's just the knowledge, sir.
The pursuit of it for its own sake, sir.
Not useful, sir. Not like your lessons.
Breaking bread with the dead, sir. That's what we do.
No, what it used to be called is wider reading.
Oh, no, sir. It can be narrower reading. Mr. Hector says if we know one book off by heart, it doesn't matter if it's really crap. The prayer book, sir, the Mikado, the Pigeon Fancier's Gazette. So long as it's words, sir. Words and words.
Oh, and the heart.
Oh, yes, sir, the heart. The heart has its reasons that reason knoweth not, sir.
Pascal, sir.
It's higher than your stuff, sir. Nobler.
Only not useful, sir. Mr. Hector's not as
No, not focused at all, sir. Learn, sir, more.
You are much more focused, sir.
And we know what we're doing, you sir. After time within, we have no idea what we're doing at all.
Poor little sheep that have lost our way, sir. Where are we?
Nah.
You're very young, sir. Oh, this isn't your gap year, is it?
I wish it was.
Why, sir? Do you not like teaching us, sir? We're not just a hiccup between the end of university and the beginning of life, like Auden, are we, sir?
Do you like Auden, sir?
Some.
Oh, Mr. Hector does, sir. We know about Auden. He was a schoolmaster for a bit.
I believe he was, yes.
He was, sir. Do you think he was more like you or more like Mr. Hector?
I've no idea. Why should he be like either of us?
I think he was more like Mr. Hector. Bit of a shambles. He snobbed his pupils. Auden, sir, not Mr. Hector.
You know more about him than I do.
Lay your sleeping head, my love, human, on my faithless arm. That was a pupil. Shocking, isn't it?
So you could answer a question about Auden, then?
How, sir?
No, sir.
That's on the exam, sir. Mr. Hector's stuff's not meant for the exam, sir. It's to make us more rounded human beings.
This examination will be about everything and anything you know and are. If there's a question about Auden, or whoever, and you know about it, you must answer it.
Couldn't do that, sir. It would be a betrayal of trust, laying bare our souls.
Is nothing sacred, sir? We're shocked.
I would, sir, and they would. They're taking the piss.
England, you have been here too long. And the songs you sing now are the songs you sung. On an earlier day, now they are wrong.
Who's that?
Don't you know, sir?
No.
Sir, it's Stevie Smith, sir. Of not waving but drowning fame.
Well, don't tell me that that is useless knowledge. You get an essay on post-imperial decline, losing an empire, finding a role, that quote, all that stuff. It's the perfect way to end it.
Can't do that, sir. It's not education, it's culture.
How much more stuff like this have you got up your sleeves?
All sorts, sir. The train. The train!
I really meant to do it. I stood there, right on the edge, and I couldn't. I wasn't brave enough. I would like to be able to say it was the thought of you and the children that prevented me, but it wasn't. I had no thoughts at all, only an overwhelming desire not to feel anything ever again, not to be unhappy anymore.
That's when I stepped into the refreshment room. I nearly fainted.
What's all?
Laura,
Yes, dear?
whatever your dream was, it wasn't a very happy one, was it?
You always help, dear.
You've been a long way away. Thank you for coming back to me.
Well, God knows why you've learned brief encounter.
Oh, very much, sir.
I hope you realize this lesson's been a complete waste of time.
Like your lessons then, sir. Like Hector's lessons then, sir. They're a waste of time too.
Yes, but Mr. Hector's not trying to get you through an exam, you little smartass.
So, have the boys given you a nickname?
Not that I'm aware of.
A nickname's an achievement, both in the sense of something won and in its armorial sense of a badge, blazoned. Unsurprisingly, I am Tot, or Totty. Some irony there, one feels.
Well, Hector has no nickname,
Yes, he has, Hector.
but he's called Hector.
And that's his nickname, too. He isn't called Hector, his name's Douglas, though the only person I've ever heard address him as such is his somewhat unexpected wife.
Posner came to see me yesterday. He has a problem.
No nickname, but at least you get their problems. I seldom do.
Sir, I think I may be homosexual.
Posner, I wanted to say to him, you're not yet in a position to be anything.
You're young, I suppose. I never had that advantage.
I love Dakin.
Does Dakin know?
Yes. He doesn't think it's surprising, though Dakin likes girls, basically.
No, I sympathized. Though, not so much as to suggest I might be in the same boat.
With Dakin.
With anybody.
That's sensible. One of the hardest things for students to learn is that a teacher is human. One of the hardest things for a teacher to learn is not to try and tell them.
Is it a phase, sir?
Do you think it's a phase?
Some of the literature says it might pass.
I wanted to say that the literature may say that, but literature doesn't.
I'm not sure I want it to pass, sir. But I want to get into Cambridge. If I do, Dakin might love me. Or I might stop caring. Do you look at your life, sir?
I thought everyone did.
I'm a Jew. I'm a beanpole. I'm homosexual and I live in Sheffield. I'm fucked.
I'd let that go.
Fuck. Yes, I'm afraid I did.
It's a test. A way of finding out if you've ceased to be a teacher and become a friend. He's a bright boy. You'll see. Next time he'll go further. What else did you talk about?
Nothing. No. Nothing. Posner,
Sir?
what goes on in Mr. Hector's lessons?
Nothing, sir. Anyway, sir, you shouldn't ask me that.
Quid pro quo.
I have to go now, sir.
You learn poetry off your own bat?
Sometimes he makes you want to, sir.
How?
It's a conspiracy, sir.
Who against?
The world, sir. I hate this. Can I go?
Is that why he locks the door?
So it's not part of the system. Time out, nobody's business, useless knowledge.
Why didn't you ask Mr. Hector about Dakin?
I wanted advice, sir. Mr. Hector would have just given me a quotation. Houseman, sir, probably. Literature's medicine, wisdom, and arts to pass everything. It isn't, though. Is it, sir?
It will pass.
Yes, sir.
And Posner,
Sir?
you must try and acquire the habit of contradiction. You're too much in the acquiescent mode.
Yes, sir. No, sir!
Posner did not say it, but since he seldom took his eyes off Dakin, he knew that Irwin looked at him occasionally too, and he wanted him to say so. Basically, He just wanted company.
When I survey the wondrous cross on which the Prince of Glory died, my richest gain I count but loss, and pour contempt on all my pride. So, all this religion, what do you do? Go to church, pray.
Yes.
It's so time-consuming, you've no idea.
Well, what else?
It's what you don't do. You don't not wank. Jesus.
You're headed for the bin.
It's not forever.
Yeah? Just tell me on the big day and I'll stand well back.
I figure I have to get through this romance with God now, or else I'll be hanging around half my life. I don't see why I should wish it on any other poor sod. The parents, of course, hate it. So aging, drugs that they were prepared for, but not matins. Some of it, though, I still don't get. They reckon you have to love God because God loves you. Why? Posner loves you, but does it mean you have to love Posner? As it is, God's this massive case of unrequited love. He's Hector, minus the motorbike. God should get real. We don't owe him anything.
Good thing to say at Cambridge that.
No.
Why? It's an angle.
It's private.
Fuck private.
Oh, don't let Hector hear you say that. You're his best boy. Test me.
What on?
T.S. Eliot. A painter of the Umbrian school, designed upon a gesso ground, the nimbus of the baptized God. The wilderness is cracked and brown, but through the water, pale and thin, still shine the unoffending feet, and there, above the painter's set, the Father and the Paraclete.
This is the one about the painting, the National Gallery.
Yes.
Don't tell me. Piero della Francesca. Actually, you know what? We are fucking clever.
You know how to seem cleverer still? Don't say Piero della Francesca. Just say Piero.
Yes?
Apparently,
Like Elvis.
you've got it.
The more you read, though, the more you realize that literature's actually about losers.
No.
It's consolation. All literature is consolation.
No, it isn't. What about when it's celebration? Joy.
But it's written when the joy is over, finished. So even if it's joy, it's grief. It's consolation. I tell you, whatever Hector says, I find literature really lowering.
Do you really believe this?
Yes.
You're not just writing a line of stuff with the exact original thoughts.
No.
Because that's the kind of angle Irwin would come up with.
Well, it's true he's the one that made me realize you're allowed to think like this. He sanctioned it. I never knew you were allowed to call art and literature into question.
Think the unthinkable. Who's going to stop you? Only don't mention it to Hector.
No.
But if you reckon literature's consolation, you should try religion.
Actually, it isn't wholly my idea.
No.
I've been reading this book by Nietzsche.
Who?
Nietzsche, he's a philosopher. Frederick Nietzsche.
I think that's pronounced Nietzsche.
Shit.
Shit! Shit! What's the matter?
I talked to Irwin about it. He didn't correct me. He let me call him Nietzsche. I think I'm a right fool. Shit!
It's just that the boys seem to know more than they're telling.
Don't most boys? Diffidence is surely to be encouraged.
In an exam, they seem to have got hold of the notion that the stuff they do with you is off limits so far as the examination is concerned.
That's hardly surprising. I count examinations, even for Oxford and Cambridge, as the enemy of education.
Which is not to say I don't regard education as the enemy of education, too. However, if you think it will help, I will speak to them.
I'd appreciate it. And for the record, I do sympathize with your feelings about examinations. But they are a fact of life. I'm sure you want them to do well, and the gobbets that you've taught them might just tip the balance.
What did you call them? Gobbets? Is that what you think they are? Gobbets. Handy little quotes that can be trotted out to make a point. Gobbets. Codes. Spells. Runes. Call them what you like. Do not call them gobbets.
I just thought it would be useful.
Oh, it would be useful. Every answer Christmas tree hung with the appropriate gobbet. Except that they're learned by heart, and that is where they belong. And like the other components of the heart, not to be defiled by being trotted out of order.
So what are they meant to be storing them up for? These boys. Education isn't something for when they're old and grey and sitting by the fire. It's for now. The exam is next month.
And what happens after the exam? Life goes on. Gobbets.
How are young men doing? Are they on stream?
I think so.
You think so? Are they or aren't they?
Must always be something of a lottery.
A lottery? I don't like the sound of that, Erwin. I don't want you to fuck up. We've been down that road too many times before.
I'm not sure the boys are bringing as much from Mr. Hector's classes as they might.
Lucky if they're getting anything at all. But I don't know that that matters. Mr. Hector has an old-fashioned faith in the redemptive power of words. In my experience, Oxbridge examiners are on the lookout for something altogether snappier. After all, it's not about how much literature that they know. What matters is how much they know about literature. Enchant the stuff till they're blue in the face, what good does it do? Coffee?
One thing you will learn if you plan to stay in this benighted profession is that the chief enemy of culture in any school is always the headmaster. Forgive Hector. He's trying to be the kind of teacher pupils will remember. Someone they will peck on. He impinges, which is something one should never do.
But it's all about holding back, not divulging. Something up their sleeves.
I wouldn't worry about that. Who's the best? Dakin?
He's the canniest.
And the best looking.
Is he? Yeah, I always have the impression he knows more than I do.
I'm sure he does, in every respect. He's currently seeing, if that is the word, the headmaster's secretary. Which means he probably knows a good deal more than any of us. Not surprising, really.
No.
One ought to know these things.
Yes.
Poser knows, I'm sure.
About halfway through that term, something happened. Felix obeyed. Hector summoned. Fiona relegated to the outer office.
I am summoned to the presence. The headmaster wishes to see me, whose library books, we must always remember, Larkin himself must have stamped. After such knowledge, what forgiveness!
You teach behind locked doors.
Occasion?
Why is that?
I don't want to be interrupted.
Teaching.
I beg your pardon.
I'm very angry. My wife, Mrs. Armstrong, does voluntary work one afternoon a week at the charity shop. Normally Mondays, except this week she did Wednesday as well. Now, the charity shop is not busy. She reads, naturally, but periodically she looks out the window. Are you following me? The road, the traffic lights, and so on. On 3 occasions, she has seen a motorbike, boy on pillion, a man fiddling. Yesterday she took the number. For the moment, I propose to say nothing about this, but fortunately it is not long until you are due to retire. In the circumstances, I propose we bring that forward. I think we should be looking at the end of term. Have you nothing to say?
The tree of man was quiet. Then 'twas the Roman, now 'tis I.
This is no time for poetry.
I would have thought it was just the time.
Did I say I was angry?
I believe you did, yes.
Did you not think?
Think. To think that 2 and 2 are 4, and never 5 nor 3. The heart of man has long been sore, and long 'tis like to be.
Incorrigible. I'm assuming your wife doesn't know?
I have no idea. What women know or don't know has always been a mystery to me. Incidentally, she helps out at the charity shop too. They all seem to do nowadays, philanthropy in its forms.
And are you going to tell her?
I don't know. I'm not sure she'd be interested.
Well, there's something else. Strange how even the most tragic turn of events generally resolve themselves into questions about the timetable. Erwin has been badgering me for more lessons. In the future, I think you and he might share.
Share.
Share. Your teaching, however effective it may or may not have been, has always seemed to me to be selfish. Less to do with the interests of the boys than some cockeyed notion you have about culture. Sharing may correct that.
Nothing happened.
A hand on a boy's genitals at 50 miles an hour, and you call that nothing?
Well, the transmission of knowledge is in itself an erotic act. In the Renaissance, people
Fuck
spoke
the Renaissance, and fuck literature, and Plato, and Michelangelo, and Oscar Wilde, and all the other shrunken violets you people line up. This is a school, and it isn't normal.
Ah, gentlemen. No Dakin?
With Mr. Irwin, sir.
They're going through old exam papers, picking out questions.
Pornography. No matter. We must carry on the fight with Dawson. What have we learned this week?
Drummer Hodge, sir.
Hardy.
Nice.
They throw in Drummer Hodge to rest, uncoffined, just as found. His landmark is a coppier crest that breaks the belt around, and foreign constellations west each night above his mound.
Young Hodge, the drummer, never knew, fresh from his Wessex home, the meaning of the broad karoo, the bush, the dusty loam, and why uprose to nightly view. Strange star amid the glow. Yet, portion of that unknown plain will Hodge forever be. His homely northern breast and brain grow to some southern tree, and strange-eyed constellations reign his stars eternally.
Good. Very good. Any thoughts?
I wondered, sir, if that portion of that unknown plain will Hodge forever be is like Rupert Brooks, sir. There's some corner of a foreign field that rich earth, richer dust concealed.
It is. It's the same thought, though Hardy's is better. I think more well down to earth, quite literally. Anything about his name?
Hodge?
The important thing is that he has a name. Say Hardy is writing about the Boer War, possibly. These were the first campaigns where private soldiers were commemorated. The names of the dead were recorded and inscribed on war memorials. Before this, common soldiers were all unknown soldiers. And so disrespected. There was a firm in the 19th century, in Yorkshire of course, which swept up their bones from the battlefields of Europe in order to grind them into fertilizer. So, thrown into a common grave though he may be, he's still Hodge the drummer. Lost boy though he is, on the other side of the world, he still has a name.
I was struck by the word uncoffin, sir.
Uncoffined. Uncoffined is a typical Hardy usage, a compound adjective formed by putting un in front of a noun, or verb, of course. Unkissed, unrejoicing, unconfessed, unembraced. It's a turn of phrase he has bequeathed to Larkin, who does the same. Unspent, unfinger-marked. And with both of them, it brings a sense of not sharing, but being out of it. Can you see that?
Yes, sir. I felt that it is.
The best moments in reading are when you come across a thought, a feeling, a way of looking at things which you thought special, particular to you. Now here it is, set down by someone else, a person you have never met, someone even who's long dead. And it is as if a hand has come out and taken yours. Now, reporting for duty, helmet in hand, is young Lieutenant David.
Sorry, sir.
No, you were more gainfully employed, I'm sure. Why the helmet?
My turn on the bike. It's Wednesday, sir.
Is it? So it is, but no. Not today, no. The words of Mercury are harsh after the songs of Apollo. You that way, we this way.
Moments of sadness,
Moments of guilt, stains on the memory,
stains on the quilt, chapter of incidents, chapter and verse, subheading chronic, paragraph worse. Tried like a good un, did it all wrong, thought that the hard way was taking too long, too late for regret or chemical change. Yesterday's targets have gone out of range.
If you want to learn about Stalin, study Henry VIII. If you want to learn about Mrs. Thatcher, study Henry VIII. If you want to know about Hollywood, study Henry VIII. This is Rievaulx Abbey, and this vertiginous trench is its main latrine. It is a sad fact that whatever the sublimity and splendor of the ruins of our great abbeys, to the droves of often apathetic visitors, the monastic life only comes alive when contemplating its toilet arrangements.
Cut. Are you okay?
Fine.
Sounding a tad schoolmastery. Smile in the voice time.
Yes.
You know. Pick it up from the monastic life. Rolling.
The monastic life only comes alive when contemplating its toilet arrangements. God is dead, shit lives. Wanting toilet paper or paper of any description, the monks used to wipe their bottoms on scraps of fabric, linen, muslin, patches of tapestry even, which presumably they would rinse and rinse again before eventually discarding them. Some of these rags survive, excavated from the drains into which they were dropped some 500 years ago, and here now find themselves exhibited in the Abbey Museum. And there is an increment even in excrement. So, sanitized and sanctified too, that they have become relics in their own right. And more pilgrims come now to see them than ever did in the age of faith. Sorry.
Cut! Are you sure you're okay?
Fine.
Let's take 5.
Familiar? Meretricious, of course, but that's nothing new.
I've forgotten what meretricious means.
Eye-catching. Showy. False.
But you were a good teacher.
The meretricious often are. On television particularly. The wheelchair helps, of course. Disability brings with it an assumption of sincerity. I hope they're paying you well. Whose idea was it?
I have a counsellor. She thought it might help.
And what happened at Oxford?
Cambridge. It didn't work out.
I think I heard that.
All the effort went into getting there. Then I had nothing left. I thought I'd got somewhere, and then I had to move on. About the money, well, my counsellor said that if I was paid for it, then it would be therapeutic.
I'm surprised anyone's interested. It's not much of a story.
You're a celebrity, you don't have to.
Did you write it yourself?
Yes. Well, I got some evening paper, and you come out of it quite well.
And Hector?
I didn't say anything about you and Dacre.
Nothing happened between me and Dacre.
But you did.
No. It's not true.
He used to say that truth wasn't important. You liked it. I thought maybe you wanted to talk about it.
Why? Nothing happened.
He liked you. Did he? Please, sir, I need to know.
Why? Why? Are you mic'd? Oh, you're mic'd, aren't you? Jesus. How did you come to this?
They won't print it unless you say so.
Good.
It's your chance to tell your side of the story.
There is no story.
You don't want to seem like Hector.
It wasn't like Hector. Now fuck off. I must return to the world of Henry VIII. It suddenly seems almost cozy.
Ready? Sir, would you mind signing your book?
Whom shall I put it to?
Me? David?
I never called you David. I called you Posner. I'll put to Posner. If that doesn't seem unfriendly, which it is. Sir. Okay.
I'll cue you. Rolling.
Where they reverence sanctity, we reverence celebrity. Where they venerated strenuous piety, we venerate supine antiquity. In our catechism, old is good, older is better, ancient is best, with a bonus on archaeology, because it's the closest history comes to shopping. Whatever we tell ourselves, things matter more to us than people. But what shocks us today about the dissolution of the monasteries is the loss of things, which, since monasticism originated in a flight from things, is something of an irony. So that you could say that it was at the moment of the dissolution that the monasteries came closest to the ideals of their foundation, and it was thanks to the villain Henry VIII that the monasteries came closest to their true purpose and their apotheosis.
Cut! Lovely! But we're still not sure about apotheosis.
It is BBC 2.
Apotheosis, a perfect example of its time. Moment of highest fulfillment. Sir, apotheosis, moment of highest fulfillment.
Yes, very good, dictionary person. Now, can I have your attention, please? I have something I have to tell you.
We know, sir.
Oh?
About sharing lessons with Mr. Irwin, sir.
Why is that, sir?
It's just a question of timetable, apparently. But no, I was going to
What's
say...
the point? Sir, your lessons are so different from his. The whole ethos is different.
And we relish the contrast, sir. Revel in it, sir.
Yin and yang, sir.
The rapier cut and thrust, sir.
It's all about variety, sir.
Hush, boys. Hush. Sometimes you defeat me.
Oh, no, sir. If we wanted to defeat you, we'd be like Cordelia and say nothing.
Can't you see I'm not in the mood.
And what mood is that, sir? The subjunctive? The mood of possibilities? The mood of might have been?
Get on with some work and read.
Read, sir? Oh, come on, sir. That's no boring.
Am I fun? Is that what I am?
Not today, sir. Not fun at all.
Is that what you think these lessons are? Fun!
But fun is good, sir. You always say
Not
that.
as fun, sir.
Would you like him to sing for you, sir?
Just shut up, all of you! Shut up, you mindless fools! That's just made me piss my life away in this godforsaken place. There's nothing of it left. Go away, class dismissed. Go!
Sir?
I was the nearest. I ought to have been the one to reach out and touch him, but I just watched. Dakin did nothing either. Neither of us did.
Later, I wrote it all down.
Know what that was all about, I'm sure. There's nothing here for tears, nothing to wail. I'm an old man in a dry season. You know.
These two have got something to cheer you up, sir.
A film, sir.
Oh, film. Goody, goody. 23 pounds in the kitty.
He's the woman, sir.
You go.
Francesca, you belong to me. We must always be together. You know that, don't you? Promise me you'll stay with me always. Promise? Very well. If that's the way you want it. If you won't play for me, you shan't play for anybody ever again.
If I say Grieg's Piano Concerto.
No, sir.
And if I say Svengali.
No, sir. No.
And if I say 1945, James Mason and Ann Todd, the Seventh Veil. Play up and play the game. Very good. Second.
Did he say why he was going?
More or less.
I'm surprised. I've said nothing to anyone. As I left it, he was considering his position. I hope he will go.
He would like to stay. To work out his time, that's what I wanted to ask.
Shall I tell you what is wrong with Hector as a teacher? It isn't that he doesn't produce results. He does. But they are unpredictable and unquantifiable. And in the current educational climate, that is no use. He may well be doing his job, but there's no method that I know of that allows me to assess the job he is doing. There is inspiration there, certainly, but how do I quantify that? And he has no notion of boundaries. A few weeks ago, I caught him teaching French. French! English is his subject. And I happened to hear a child singing yesterday morning, and on inquiry, I find all his pupils know the words to When I'm Cleaning Windows, George Formby, at Gracie Fields. Dawson, what has Gracie Fields got to do with anything? So, the upshot is I'm glad he handled his pupils' balls, because that, at least I can categorize. It is a reason for him going no one can dispute. And I was so pleased on the night Mrs. Armstrong told me that she was startled to find she was the object of unaccustomed sexual interference herself. That is a measure of how pleased I was. Though I shan't say that to the inspectors. You didn't know? He hadn't told you why he was going?
Not that, no.
I assumed you knew.
Nope.
In that case, you must keep it yourself, both his going and the reason for it.
He handled the boys' balls?
Don't want to spell it out. You've been married yourself, you know the form. And while on a motorbike, he, as it were, cradled them. To be fair, I believe it was more appreciative than investigatory, but inexcusable nevertheless. Think of the gulf of years and the speed. One knows the road well. No, it's to everyone's benefit that he should go as soon as possible.
I've not hitherto been allotted an inner voice. My role a patient and not unamused sufferance of the predilections and preoccupations of men. They kick their particular stone down the street and I watch. I am, it is true, confided in by all parties, my gender some sort of safeguard against the onward transmission of information. That I should be assumed to be so discreet is in itself condescending. I'm what men would call a safe pair of hands. Our headmaster is a twat. An impermissible word nowadays, but the only one suited to my purposes. A twat. And to go further down the same prescribed path, a condescending cunt! Do you think Hector is a good teacher?
Well, yes, I suppose. But what do I know?
You see, I probably don't. When I was teaching in London in the 70s, there was a consoling myth that not very bright children could always become artists. Droves of the half-educated left school with the notion that art, or some form of self-realization, was a viable option. It's by the same well-meaning token that it's assumed still that every third person in prison is a potential Van Gogh. And love him, though I feel there's a touch of that to Hector. Or else what's all this learning by heart for, except as some sort of insurance against the boy's ultimate failure? Not that it matters now, of course.
Why? What happened?
Nothing. Nothing happened. Isn't this his lesson?
Oh, it is. But we're sharing. Hadn't you heard?
Sharing? Whose cockeyed idea was that? Don't tell me. Twat. Twat. Twat!
The boys decide. Ask them.
Anybody?
Come along, boys. Don't sulk.
We don't know who we are, sir. Your class, Mr. Irwin.
Does that mean it? Oh, yes, sir. It depends. You want us thoughtful or smart?
Civil Branson, tired.
Look, sir, you're a witness. No, sir. You could be sacked.
All right, settle down. Settle. I thought we could talk about the Holocaust.
Good gracious, is that on the syllabus?
It has to be. The syllabus includes the Second War.
Suppose it does.
Though, in any case, the questions aren't limited to a particular curriculum.
But how can one teach the Holocaust?
Well, that would do as a question. Can you teach the Holocaust?
It has origins, it has consequences. It's a subject like any other.
Not like any other, surely. Not like any other.
No, but it's a topic.
They go on school trips nowadays, don't they? Auschwitz, Dachau. Oh, what has always concerned me is, where do they eat their sandwiches during their walk?
The visitor center. It's like anywhere else.
Do they take pictures there? Are they smiling? Do they hold hands? Nothing is appropriate. Just like questions on an examination paper are inappropriate. How can the boys scribble down an answer, no matter how well put? That doesn't demean the suffering involved. And putting it well demeans it just as much as putting it badly.
Well, it's a question of tone, surely. Tact.
Not tact. Decorum.
Well, what if you were to write that this was so far beyond one's experience, silence was the only proper response?
Well, that would be your answer to lots of questions, wouldn't it, sir?
Yes, they would.
Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent. That's right, isn't it, sir? Wittgenstein.
Yes, that's good.
No, it's not good. It's flip, it's glib, it's journalism.
But it's you that taught us it, sir.
I didn't teach you, and Wittgenstein didn't screw it out of his very guts in order for you to turn it into some dinky formula. I thought that you, of all people, were bright enough to see that.
I do see it, sir, only I don't agree with it. Not anymore.
Sir,
Yes?
you told us once, it was to do with the trenches, that one person's death will tell you more than 1,000. But when people are dying like flies, you said that is what they're dying of.
Except they weren't just dying, they were being processed. What is different is the process.
That's good.
No, it's not good. Bolster's not making a point. He's speaking from the heart.
So, supposing we get a question on Hitler in the Second War, and we take your line, sir, that this is not a crazed lunatic, but a statesman.
Not a statesman taking a politician. I wouldn't say a statesman.
Politician, then. And one erratically, perhaps, but still discernibly operating within the framework of traditional German foreign policy.
Yes.
And we go on to say, in accordance with this line, that the death camps have to be seen in the context of this policy.
I think that would be inexpedient.
Inexpedient? Inexpedient?
Well, I don't think it's true for a
But
start.
what has truth got to do with it? I thought that for the purposes of this examination, truth is, not in irrelevance, then so relative as just to amount to another point of view.
Why can you not simply condemn the camps outright as an unprecedented horror?
No point, sir. Everybody will do that. That's the stock answer, sir. The death camps, an event unlike any other, the evil unprecedented, etc., etc.
No! No, no! Can't you see just to say etc. is monstrous? Etc. is what the Nazis would have said. The dead reduced to a mere verbal abbreviation. What have we learned about language? Oh well. Oh well.
Right, not etc., but given that the death camps are generally thought of as unique, wouldn't another approach be to show what precedents there were and put them, well, in proportion?
Proportion?
Well, not proportion then, but putting them in
But
context.
putting something in context, as the step would say, it can be understood and it can be explained. And if it can be explained, it can be explained away.
Tout comprendre, c'est tout pardonner.
That's good, Poser.
It isn't good. I mean it, sir.
But putting them into context would be like the dissolution of the monasteries. After all, the monasteries were dissolved before Henry VIII. Dozens of them.
Yes, but the difference is I didn't use any relatives in the dissolution of the monasteries.
Good point.
You keep saying good point. Not good point, sir. True. To you, the Holocaust is just another topic on which we may get a question.
No. But this is history. Distance yourselves. Our perspective on the past alters. Looking back, immediately in front of us is dead ground. We don't see it, and because we don't see it, this means there is no period so remote as the recent past. And one of the historian's jobs is to anticipate what our perspective of that period will be, even on the Holocaust. That went rather well.
Parrots! I thought I was lining up their minds with some sort of literary insulation, proof against the primacy of fact. Instead, come back my words like a speak-your-weight machine to comprendre et to pardonner.
Oh, I was rather encouraged. They are getting the idea.
You know what the worst thing is? I wanted them to show off. I wanted them to come up with a handy quote. I wanted them to compete. It's time I went.
Went where?
Home. Home. Ah, David, I've got the statesman for you in Stafford.
I'll get it tomorrow, sir. I just wanted to ask Mr. Irwin something. We were having a discussion, sir, as to whether you were disingenuous or meretricious.
I'm flattered.
But disingenuous is not candid, insincere, having false motives. But meretricious is showy and falsely attractive. We decided, sir, that you were meretricious, but not disingenuous.
Well, thank you.
What you were saying earlier, sir, about the perspective altering, the stuff you generally do with Mr. Hector, the poetry, Shakespeare, all that. Would the perspective alter on that?
Not now, no, I suppose not.
Better shelf life than your stuff, then, sir.
Well, it's art. It has a different shelf life altogether.
Never mind, Coach. We still love you, even if you are a bit flash. You flirt. I don't understand it. I never want to please anybody the way I do him. Girls not accepted.
It's this making it up I can't get used to. Arguing for a fact, not believing what you're saying. That's not history. It's journalism.
Right. You get started on sex. You're making it up all the time, being different, outrageous. That's what they go for. I tell you, history is fucking. Discuss. Anyway, I'm not going to, am I? Not while God's still in the frame. Actor's going right off me. Look at you. Thinks I've gone over to the enemy.
I did notice the lifts seem to have stopped.
No, that's something else. He's going, you know. The big man. Don't let on. Fiona says. Sacked. Who complained?
That's why the lifts have stopped.
Poor sod. Though in some ways I'm not sorry. No. No more genital massages when speeds along leafy suburban roads.
No more the bike's melancholy long withdrawing roar as he dropped her at the corner. Your honor still intact.
Let her the one is, or aspires to be. It occurs to me that the lot of women cannot be easy, who must suffer such inexpert male fumblings virtually on a daily basis. Are we scarred for life, do you think? We must hope so. Perhaps you'll turn me into roust.
A letter from the Posner parents. Charming couple, Jewish of course. Father a farrier, retired, and I suspect elderly. Posner, Benjamin, is it? A child of their old age.
He's clever.
Jewish boys often are. A role, though, nowadays that is more and more being taken over by Asian boys. Intelligence, to some degree, the fruit of discrimination. It was apropos the Holocaust.
It came up in discussion.
As it should. A shaping circumstance. A line drawn before and after. However, Posner Pad, who seems a little overexcited, has taken some exception to your remarks. That they should be kept in proportion.
No, I didn't quite say that.
Mr. Posner calls it a unique historical event and says that it can't be compared with the dissolution of the monasteries. Well, who in his right mind would think it could?
We did discuss how the Holocaust should be tackled in the event of them getting a question on it.
Prefaced, presumably, with all the right disclaimers. No suggestion, above all, that it didn't happen.
I was telling them that there were ways of discussing it that went beyond mere lamentation. You know, the risk the historian undertakes.
Mr. Irwin, fuck the historian. I have 2 angry Jewish governors. I've explained to them that you're young and inexperienced, and that your anxiety that the boys should do well has perhaps outweighed your sense of proportion. You'll write them a letter of apology on much the same lines. They also complain that Hector's got the boys singing hymns.
Posner likes singing.
Hymns.
Anything.
Not Gracie Fields.
Possibly.
Didn't I suggest you grew a mustache?
Do you tell your parents everything that goes on at school?
My father, he's interested. I just said that the Holocaust was a historical fact like every other historical fact. It was my uncle who hit me.
I'm sorry. I was too dispassionate, I suppose. It was my fault. The Holocaust is not yet a historical notion. It's not an abstract question. Though, of course, over time, it will be. No singing too, I gather.
Not hymns. They're fine with Barbara Streisand. Sir, sorry to keep you on about it, but if the Holocaust does come up...
At home.
No, as a question.
Surprising. You're Jewish. You can get away with a lot more than the other candidates. The equivalent would be Akhtar singing the praises of empire. But say what you think.
They don't send your papers home?
My duty to your lordship.
Your essays. So-called.
I really enjoy doing this one. I'm beginning to get it, turning facts on their heads. It's like a game. Shit. He never gives an inch, does he? Lucid and to a point compelling, but if you reached a conclusion, it escaped me. Have you looked at your handwriting recently? Why? You're beginning to write like him. I'm not trying to, honestly. You're writing like him too!
No, I'm not. Dakin writes like him. I write like Dakin.
It's done wonders for the sex life. Apparently I talk about him so much, Fiona gets really pissed off. Doing it's about the only time I shut up. Would you do it? With him? I wondered about that. I might. Bring a little sunshine into his life. It's only a wank after all. What makes you think he'd do it with you? You complacent fuck. Does the Archbishop of Canterbury know you talk like that? So you broke through with Fiona, the Western Front. Broke through? Had the armistice, the Treaty of Versailles. It's now the Weimar Republic. Decadence.
Aren't you afraid it's going to be over all too soon?
What, sex?
I mean, what have you got to look forward to?
More of the same. Can't save it up. I like him. I just wish I thought he liked me.
Owen does like him. He seldom looks at anyone else.
How do you know?
Because nor do I. Our eyes meet looking at Dakin.
Pause. With your spinal heart, it will pass.
Yes, it's only a phase, and who says I want it to pass? But the pain. The pain.
Hector would say, is the only education worth having.
Just wish there were marks for it.
Now, anything provocative in your papers, and they may question you on that. Otherwise, they're likely to be the usual, what are your hobbies type questions.
Lockwood? Mr. Lockwood, you say you're interested in architecture. Who is your favorite architect?
Richard Rogers.
I was thinking more along the Wren Hawksmoor lines. Richard Rogers. Doesn't he write musicals?
Oh, miss. It's a different one. You wouldn't get far, miss.
Nor will you. Next. Crowther. Mr. Crowther, one of your interests is the theater. Tell us about that.
I'm keen on acting. I've done various parts, favourite being
Can
anime
I
and...
stop you? Don't mention the theater.
It's what I'm interested in.
Then soft pedal it. The acting side of it, anyway. Dons, most dons, think the theater is a waste of time. They think any undergraduate keen on acting forfeits all hope of a good degree.
So much for Shakespeare.
It's not the plays, it's the acting of the plays. Shakespeare, anybody. It's no fun teaching the stage struck.
And isn't being stage struck part of their education?
Music's all right, though. Is it, sir? They don't frown on that?
No, you should just say what you enjoy.
Oh, Mozart.
No. Everyone likes Mozart. Someone more off the beaten track? Tippett, say, or Bruckner?
But I don't know them! May I make a suggestion? Why can't they not all just tell the truth?
It's worth trying, yes, provided you can make it sound like you're telling the truth.
Ah, yes, a degree of presentation.
Dorothy, have you anything you'd like to add?
I hesitate to mention this, lest it occasion a sophisticated groan, but it may not have crossed your minds that one of the Dons who interviews you may be a woman. I'm reluctant at this stage of the game to expose you to new ideas, but having taught you all history on a strictly non-gender-oriented basis, I just wonder whether it occurs to any of you how dispiriting this can be. It's obviously dispiriting to you, Mr. Dakin, or you wouldn't be yawning.
Sorry, miss.
Women so seldom get a turn for a start. Elizabeth I is less remarkable for her abilities than the fact that, unlike most of her sisters, she did get a chance to exercise them. Am I embarrassing you?
Yeah, a bit, miss.
Why?
It's not our fault, miss. It's just the way it is.
The world is everything that is the case, miss. Wittgenstein, miss.
I know it's Wittgenstein thing. Tell me, just for interest's sake, did he travel on the other bus?
Bus? What bus?
On the few occasions that he went anywhere, yes, I believe he did.
You can tell. Because the world is everything that is the case seems actually a rather feminine approach to things. Rueful, accepting, taking things as they are. A real man would have been trickier. The world is everything that can be made to seem the case. However, je divague. Can you, for a moment, imagine how dispiriting it is to teach 5 centuries of masculine ineptitude? Why do you think there are no women historians on TV?
No tits?
That boy. Hit
Dawson!
him.
I'm not hitting you here. And besides, you're not supposed to say tits. Hit him again.
I'll tell you why there are no women historians on TV. It's because they don't get carried away for a start. And they don't come bounding up to you with every new historical notion they've come up with. The Bow Wow School of History. History is not such a frolic for women as it is for men. Why should it be? They never get round a conference table. In 1919, for instance, they just arranged the flowers, then gracefully retired. History is a commentary on the various and continuing incapabilities of men. What is history? History is women following behind with the bucket. And I'm not asking you to espouse this point of view, but the occasional nod in its direction can do you no harm. You should note, boys, that your masters find this kind of undisguised expression of feeling distasteful. As I see to some of you. Rog. Now, how do you define history, Mr. Raj?
Permission to speak freely, miss, without being hit.
I will protect you.
How do I define history? Just one fucking thing after another.
I see. And why do you want to come to Christchurch?
It's the one I thought I might get into.
No other reason.
Do you like the architecture, for instance?
They'll ask me not to support, won't they?
If you're as uncommunicative as this, they may be forced to.
The point is, Raj, is that even if they want to take you on the basis of your prowess on the field, you need to help them to pretend at least that there are other considerations.
I'm keen on a film.
Jesus.
What film?
Well, lots of films actually, only Miss said to say film, not film.
No, Rog, what I said was, it sounds better to say, I'm keen on film, rather than I like films.
What film?
Say This Sporting Life. Well, it's about Ruger.
Is that recent? I'd like to see that. Look, I'm shit at all this. I'm sorry. If they want to take me, they'll take me because I'm dull and ordinary. I'm no good in interviews. But I've got enough chat to take me around the golf course, and maybe there'll be someone on the boat who wants to go around the golf course. You think that's a joke, but golf makes the same sense to me as architectural films do to you. You may not rate it, but it's an accomplishment. I may not know much about Jean-Paul Sartre, but I've got a handicap of 4.
Where have you heard about Sartre?
He was a good golfer.
Really? I never knew that. Interesting.
Remember also, our puny efforts notwithstanding, you will be up against boys and girls who've been taught better than you.
Taught differently, anyway.
How did you know Sartre was a golfer?
I didn't know that he was. I don't even know who he is. Fuck could I? They keep telling us to lie.
I have a feeling Kafka was good at table tennis. I'll be glad we can be shot of all this shit.
Oh, come.
Sir, I never gave you my essay.
That's good.
What degree did you get, sir? You never said.
A second.
Boring. Didn't the old magic work?
I hadn't perfected the technique.
What college were you at?
Corpus.
Do you think you'll be happy, say we get in?
You'll be happy anyway.
Not sure I like that. Why? Uncomplicated? Is that what you mean? Outgoing? Straight?
None of them bad things to be.
Depends. Nice to be a bit complicated.
Or to be thought so. How's Posner?
Why?
He likes you, doesn't he?
It's his age, he's growing up.
It's hard for him.
Boring for me. I'm not suggesting I do something about it. It happens. I wouldn't anyway. Too young. How does history happen?
What?
How does stuff happen, do you think? People decide to do things, make moves, alter things.
Some do, I suppose. Make moves. Others react to events. In 1939, Hitler made a move on Poland. Poland
Gave in.
defended itself. Is that what you mean?
No, not Poland anyway. Was Poland taken by surprise?
To some extent. Though they knew something was up. What was your essay about?
Turning point.
Ah, yes. Moments in history. Rattles over the points. Shall I tell you what you've written? Dunkirk.
Yes.
Hitler turning on Russia.
Yes.
Alamein.
Yes.
More. Oh, that's good.
In 1939, when Chamberlain resigned as Prime Minister, Churchill wasn't the first thought. Halifax more generally acceptable. But on the afternoon when the decision was taken, Halifax chose to go to the dentist. If Halifax had had better teeth, we might have lost the war.
Oh, that's brilliant. No, first class, that's...
It's a good game.
No, it's more than a game. Thinking about what might have happened alerts you to the consequences of what did.
It's subjunctive history.
Come again.
But the subjunctive is the mood you use when something might or might have happened. But it's imagined. Hector is crazy about the subjunctive. Why are you smiling?
Nothing. Good luck.
All my life, I've been one of those squatting at the front. I don't care about Oxford and Cambridge. I just want to graduate to a chair.
Dawson, why don't you sit there? Why don't you go down there?
Ready?
Ah, a photograph. Always a good idea. Dorothy, go here, and I'll go there. Posner, you'll be better on the floor. Who's taking the picture?
It's a delayed action.
No. Too much hit and miss. Hector, why don't you take it?
Then he won't be in the picture.
Ah, Hector doesn't mind.
The boys might.
It's not for the boys, it's for the school. Rudge, floor. Now, boys, look like Oxbridge material. No negative thoughts. Threshold of great things.
Magnificently unprepared for the long littleness of life.
What's he want us for?
No idea.
Pep talk?
Bit late for that. It's probably about Hector.
I sort of know.
I imagine everyone sort of knows.
Does his wife?
He doesn't think so, apparently, but I imagine she's another who's sort of known all along. A husband on a lowlight. That's what they want, these supposedly unsuspecting wives. The man's lukewarm attention's just what they married them for. He's a fool. He's also unlucky. For a start, Mrs. Headmaster didn't normally do a stint at age concern on a Wednesday unless someone was off. And what if a customer had come in just as Hector had got to the lights and she'd been looking the other way? Or the lights had been green? The smallest of incidents, the junction of a dizzying range of alternatives, any one of which could have had a different outcome. If I was a bold teacher, if I was you even, I could spend a lesson dissecting what the headmaster insists on calling this unfortunate incident. And it would teach the boys more about history and the utter randomness of things than, well, anything I've managed to do so far.
Well, I wonder how they're doing.
Don't you ever want to go back?
To Oxford. Not clever enough. Not anything enough, really. I used to imagine myself going back, doing research, coming up with something startling. Like Namia, say. And I would do it, then fling it in their faces.
Oxford? Why should they care? No, they're like everybody else. Make money. That's what they admire. Make lots of money, then don't give them anything.
Dorothy, a word.
Trouble at the mill. That's the news he's aching to impart. My marching orders.
I sort of know.
Ah,
Bacon told me.
did he tell you why? I've got this idea of buying a van, filling it with books, and taking it around country markets. Shropshire, Herefordshire, the open road, the dusty highway. Travel, change, interest, excitement. Boop, boop. I didn't want to turn out boys who, in later life, had a deep love of literature, or who would talk in middle age of the lure of language and their love of words. Words said in that reverential way, that is somehow Welsh. That's what the tosh is for. Brief encounter, grassy fields. It's an antidote. Sheer calculated silliness.
Has a boy ever made you unhappy?
They used to do. See, does an inoculation rather. Briefly painful, but providing immunity for however long it takes. With the occasional booster. Another face, a reminder of the pain. It can last you half a lifetime.
Love.
Who could love me? I talk too much.
It took me by surprise.
Don't do it.
I wouldn't dare.
No, don't teach.
I hadn't planned on it.
Well, who plans on it? 6 months, a year, till something more exciting turns up? It's always the same. I used to think I could warm myself on the vitality of the boys I taught, but that doesn't work. It ought to renew the young mind, warm, eager, trusting. Instead comes a kind of coarsening. You start to clown, plus a fatigue that passes for philosophy, but is nearer to indifference. Now, boys, come and go, but I am no more moved by this than by the arrival and departure of trains. Boys have become work.
Do they know?
They know everything. Don't touch him, he'll think you're a fool. That's what they think of me. I'm lucky, I suppose, dodging the ignominy. Still, I'd have liked to have served my time. I gather you knew too, and the boys knew.
Well, of course, the boys knew. They had it at first hand.
I didn't actually do anything. It was a laying on of hands. I won't deny that. More benediction than gratification or anything else.
Hector, darling, love you as I do, that is the most colossal balls.
Is it?
A grope is a grope. It is not the Annunciation. Twat. Anyway, what Felix wanted to tell me is that when I take my leave next year, he's hoping he can persuade you to step into my shoes.
Erwin.
For your information, they're a size 7 court shoe, broad fitting.
I attended Eucharist in College Chapel, where, apart from a girl from a school in West Bromwich, I was the only communicant. It was a genuine act of worship, though I knew it would do me no harm at the college, the self-servingness of my devotions in this instance leaving me untroubled. I really wanted to get in. I never particularly liked myself, but the boy I was kneeling in front of that cold and empty chapel that winter morning fills me now with longing, pity.
The guy whose room I had seemed a bit of a pillock. There was a Lord of the Rings poster for a start, and an Arsenal scarf draped around a photograph of Virginia Woolf. Only I saw this, maybe, as irony. No books much, except he had a book with lists of everybody who had been at other colleges, So I looked at that for a bit. Oh, and I went and looked at Corpus, where Erwin was. No sex.
I sat in the room most of the time, or trailed around the streets. I can see why they make such a big fuss about it. Every college is like a stately home. My parents would love it. There was a question on the Holocaust, and I did play it down. They asked me about it at the interview, praised what they called my sense of detachment. Said it was a foundation of writing history. I think I did well.
Splendid news. How's that? A scholarship, bacon, an exhibition, and places for everyone else. It's more than one could have ever hoped for. Owen, you are to be congratulated. A remarkable achievement. And you too, Dorothy, of course, you laid the foundations.
Not grudge, headmaster.
Not grudge. Oh dear.
The others have all had letters. He has said nothing.
Well, it was always a bit of an outside chance. I felt we were indulging him by allowing him to enter at all. That college must think we're fools. A pity. It would have been so good to have had a clean sweep. Rubbish. You haven't heard from Oxford?
No, sir.
Perhaps you'll hear from them tomorrow.
Why should I? They told me when I was there.
I'm sorry.
For what? Got in.
How come?
How come they told me, or how come they took a thick sod like me? I had family connections.
Someone in your family went to Christchurch?
In a manner of speaking, my dad, before he got married, he was this old college servant there in the 1960s. This old passing guy was just sitting there for most of the interview. Suddenly said, was I related to Bill Rudge, who had been on staircase 7 in the 1960s, a college servant. So I said he was my dad, and they said I was just the candidate they were looking for. College servant's son, now an undergraduate. Evidence of how far they'd come. Mind you, I did all the other stuff like Stalin was a Swede, Wilfred Owen was a wuss. They said I was plainly someone who thought for himself and just what the college rugged team needed.
Through my staying, there was a handbook to the colleges, this previous undergraduates and that. I looked you up, only you weren't there.
I'm surprised you were interested.
I was feeling a bit lonely. Thought it'd be nice to see your name.
You maybe looked at the wrong list.
Corpus?
No, I said I was at Jesus.
You said you had Corpus.
No.
You did.
Corpus, Jesus, what does it matter?
Because I went round to look at the fucking college. That's why it matters. Because I imagined you there.
I never got in. I did go to Oxford, but it was only to do a teaching diploma. Does that make a difference?
To me? No. At least you lied. And lying's good, isn't it? It works. We've established that. Only you ought to learn to do it properly. Anyone else? And I'd say we could have a drink.
Yes. I can't tonight.
Tomorrow, then.
That's bad, too.
Is that a euphemism? It is, isn't it? Saying a drink when you mean something else? Only a euphemism is a nice way of saying something nasty, and, well, have a drink is a nice way of saying something nice.
I think that's a euphemism, too.
Actually, forget the euphemism. I'm just kicking the tires on this one, but further to the drink, what I was really wondering was whether there are any circumstances in which there was any chance of your sucking me off. Something similar. Actually, that would please Hector.
What?
Oh, you're sucking me off. It's a gerund. He likes gerunds. And you're being scared shitless. That's another gerund.
I didn't know you were that way inclined.
I'm not. But it's the end of term, I've gotten to Oxford, I thought we might push the boat out. Anyway, I'll leave it on the table. I don't understand it. Why are you so bold in argument and talking? When something is really happening, I mean now, you're so fucking careful. Is it because you're a teacher and I'm, well, a boy?
Well, obviously, that's...
Why? Who cares? I don't.
You've already had to cope with one teacher who touches you.
Is that what it is? Is it because you don't want to be like Hector? You can't be like him. How can you be? Hector is a joke.
No, he isn't. He isn't.
That side of him is.
This is such a cliche.
Right. And you abhor cliches. You teach us to avoid them, nothing more likely to put the examiners off. Only in this subject, there are no examiners. And I'll tell you something. Cliches can be quite fun. That's how they got to be cliches. So give yourself a break. Be like everybody else for a change. On this one, you don't have to be different.
All right.
All right, what?
All right. Let's have a drink.
No! Don't write it in your sodding diary. Put it in your head. Or here.
Maybe next week.
Get this man. Maybe next week. Oh, you can suck me off next week. Now, I've heard of a crowded schedule, but this is ridiculous. What are you doing Sunday afternoon?
I was going to be working. Going over the accounts of Roche Abbey. But I think I've just had a better offer.
I think you did. Oh. And we're not in the subjunctive either. This is going to happen.
Give me a subscription to The Spectator or Box of Black Magic. Just because you got a scholarship doesn't mean you have to give him unfettered access to your dick.
Well, how would you say thank you?
Same as you, probably. On my knees.
Also, on This Is the Big Trial, I had a session with Felix, and I asked him what the difference was between Hector touching us up on the bike and him trying to feel up Fiona.
You are insane!
He was upset naturally, and the language was shocking, but eventually he took the point. And the good news is, Hector's reprieved. He stays.
So everybody's happy.
I never realized how easy it was to make things happen, you know?
No. Actually, I shouldn't have said everybody's happy, as just saying the words meant, like in a play, that the laws of irony are thereby activated, and things began to unravel pretty quickly after that.
Now look, everybody. This is known as Posner's reward.
Is that it? The long for a moment?
What's wrong with it?
Too fucking brief. I was looking for something more lingering. And is that Hector's reward?
I thought I would. It's only polite. Just for old time's sake.
Just don't let him go past the charity shop.
Sir, is the jackpot still going?
Why?
I've got something.
Just you?
Yes.
I'm listening.
At school they taught me how to be so pure in thought and word and deed. They didn't quite succeed. For everything I long to do, no matter when or where or who, has one thing in common too. It's a
It's a sin.
He doesn't know that. You can't expect him to know that.
I do.
And anyway, it's crap.
So is Gracie Fields, only that's his crap. This is our crap.
Children! Easy though I am to overlook, I am still here. Unsurprisingly, I do not know the song in question.
Well, Pop's the new literacy, sir.
I read it. In which case, I'm now illiterate. But Roger's right. His crap or my crap, it makes no difference. So, in another reference to our ancient popular culture, I say, give him the money, Bonnie! For everything I long to do, no matter when, nowhere, or who, has one thing in common too. It's a What is this?
A boy in a motorcycle helmet? Who is it? Dakin? Hector? No! No, under no circumstances! I thought I'd make this plain. Take somebody else.
And here, history rattled over the points.
Take Owen.
Sure. Why not?
Hang on to your briefcase.
Fuck off. Fuck right off.
Has one thing in common too. It's a sin. It's a sin.
There are various theories about what happened, why he came off.
It's inconceivable he ever touched Erwin, who would in any case have been clutching his briefcase.
Or it might have been that Hector was so used to driving with one hand while the other was busy behind him that driving with two made him put on speed.
Some of these explanations are a touch obvious, which, if anything, he taught us one thing, Erwin taught us not to be. So, I think that since Erwin had never been on the back of a bike before, he leaned out instead of in, and so unbalanced Hector.
That would be appropriate too. Trust Erwin to lean the opposite way to everyone else.
With no memory of what happened, and with no help. I only know what I've been told. My last memory is Dakin asking me out for a drink. Something we never did, incidentally.
No. Where's the wheelchair? That's terrible, isn't it? Afterwards, couldn't face the wheelchair. Still, at least I asked him. And barring accidents, it would have happened.
Barring accidents? There is no barring accidents. It's like I said, history's just one fucking thing after another.
Someone dies at school, and you remember it all your life.
If I speak of Hector, I speak of enthusiasms shared, passions conveyed, and seeds sown of future harvest. He loved literature. He loved words. For each and every one of you, his pupils, he opened up a deposit account in the Bank of Literature and made you all shareholders in the wonderful world of words.
Some of the things he said, or quoted, anyway, you never know when it was which. We are mulched by the dead, though one person's death will tell you more than 1,000.
There was the time he put his head down and said, "What am I doing teaching in this godforsaken school?" The first time I realized the teacher was a human being.
There was a contract between him and his class. Quite what the contract was or what it involved would be hard to say. But it was there.
He was stained and shabby and did unforgivable things. But he led you to expect the best. Even his death was a lesson, and added to the story.
Hector never bothered with what he was educating these boys for. They become solicitors, chartered accountants, teachers even, members of what used to be called the professional classes. 2 of these boys become magistrates. 1 a headmaster. Pillars of a community that no longer has much use for pillars. 1 puts together a chain of dry cleaners and takes drugs at the weekend. Another is a tax lawyer, telling highly paid fibs and making frequent trips to the Gulf states.
I like money. It's fun.
1 is a builder who carpets the dales in handy homes.
Is that meant to be me? I'm not putting my hand up to that. Like them or not, Rudge owns affordable homes for first-time buyers.
All right, Rudge.
Death. It's just one more excuse to patronize. I had years of that.
Same here. If I may proceed. Hector had seen Erwin turning his boys into journalists, but in the event, there is only one. And on a better class of paper. A career he is always threatening to abandon in order, as he puts it, really to write.
Hector said I was a journalist.
And so you were. Briefly at school and then on TV. I enjoyed your programs, but they were more journalism than history. What you call yourself now, you're in politics, I'm not sure.
I'm not in politics. Who's in politics? I'm in government.
Well, you're not in monastic history, that's for sure. Hector would have been surprised and gratified, too, to find himself regularly recalled in the old boys' letter. Few of them can otherwise be bothered to read. Still, of all Hector's boys, there is only one who truly took everything to heart, remembers everything he was ever taught. The songs, the poems, the sayings, the endings, the words of Hector never forgotten. He lives in a cottage he has renovated himself, has an allotment and periodic breakdowns. He keeps a scrapbook of the achievements of his one-time classmates, haunts the local library, and has a host of friends, though only on the internet, and none in his right name or even gender. He's long since stopped asking himself where it went wrong.
Finish, good lady. The bright day is done, and we are for the dark.
He was a good man. But I do not think that there's time for his kind of teaching anymore.
No. Another part, 'tis the only education worth having.
Pass the parcel. That's sometimes all you can do. Take it, feel it, and pass it on. Not for me, not for you, but for someone, somewhere, one day. Pass it on, boys. That's the game I wanted you to learn. Pass it on.